That is a fun song to play. That one's called Trop Dog from the Temperate Climax, the album by the Tropicals. And that was the album that we worked on for like a year. We waited for a year to release it, but it's finally out. So yeah, it's been out for like a week now, which is cool. We put it on Bandcamp. And yeah, a bunch of people bought it, which was awesome. So as you know, a lot of the money from that was going to charity. Always forget the name of the charity, but it's a racial justice charity. So yeah, thanks to everyone who purchased it, because you know the money's going to a good cause, and the small amount of money that we took from it was just to cover some bills for recording and stuff. So yeah, it was nice to be able to break even and then be able to put the rest of the money towards a good cause, and I was glad to be involved in that, and I hope you were too, and I hope you enjoyed the music if you bought it. And yeah, so it's been on there for a week now, and we can see there's some people who have supported it. That song, Trop Dog, I just played, it has had 3 names. Originally it was called Spaghetti Carbonara, and then it was called Pineapple Carbonara. Those are a few other random iterations of that. But then we realized that they were all ridiculous names. And so we changed the name, and it's just as ridiculous now. No, it's whatever, you know. It's like Trop Dog is like Top Dog, but, you know, tropicals. So you get it, surely. I thought it was funny, somebody who supported the album here left a bit of a review. They said, "Riffs so warm and humid, I can almost feel my bare hammies peeling off the leather car seat on a 40-degree summer arvo. Trop Dog is what I imagine..." Sorry, I need to get closer. "Trop Dog is what I imagine a mirage sounds like after you realize it's actually an oasis." Well, that's very kind. Thanks for your kind words there. Pursuit Special, I think. I don't know how Bandcamp works. But yeah, cool. Thanks for everyone for checking it out. And the new news this week is that it's now on Spotify as well. So I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, all you Spotify users, you can jump on there and add it to your playlist and whatever else. And I think it's also on iTunes or Apple Music or whatever, and I think it should be on Google Play soon, and YouTube Music and all that sort of stuff soon. But yeah, so appreciate the support. If you've got any comments you want to make about it or feedback, like I said last time, just hit us up or leave a comment on this video or something, because I'd be interested to see what everyone thinks. So let's get into it. Coming to you straight out of Berlin once again. And it's pissing down rain outside today. So what better day to be in here and doing this? And I've got a new haircut. Basically, I look like every second character out of The Matrix. That's why I bought these bad boys, so I can be like fucking tank. Load the jump program. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I look like an 80-year-old man now. So whatever, you know. But I like it. So let's get into it. Somebody brought up on Facebook this week this video. It's kind of old. It's from the end of last year, and it's Donald Trump talking about wind turbines. And this is something that I've wanted to talk about in some public way for a while, and you know, be able to express myself to the 10 people that watch this. Just need my excuse to like scream into an empty void, you know. But let's just watch this and see what Donald Trump has to say.
We'll have an economy based on wind. I never understood wind. You know, I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than...
Never understood wind, but he knows windmills very well. And he's...
than anybody. I know it's very expensive.
He knows them. He studied them more than anybody.
They're made in China and Germany mostly. Very few made here, almost none. But they're manufactured tremendous, if you're into this, tremendous fumes, gases are spewing into the atmosphere. You know, we have a world, right? So the world is tiny compared to the universe. So tremendous, tremendous amount of fumes and everything. You talk about the carbon footprint. Fumes are spewing into the air, right? Spewing. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air. It's our air, their air, everything, right? So they make these things, and then they put them up. And if you own a house within vision of some of these monsters, your house is worth 50% of the price.
This is something that is actually kind of true, I guess, in a way that, you know, a lot of people have this idea of wind turbines that they're really ugly and noisy and all this stuff. And the fact that they make property prices lower, I actually think is a good thing for me, because I'd love to live near them. I'll explain why soon.
They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life.
And he got an applause for that. And Donald Trump knows windmills better than anybody else. So I'm sure he's done lots of research, and he's saying, you know, if you go and check it out, you'll see how many birds they kill. So I'm sure that he's done that plenty of times. And actually, I've done that too, funnily enough. I have visited a wind farm. And I've even got some videos here that I've prepared for you. So let's have a look at this. This is on a mountain called Schauinsland, I think, near Freiburg in Germany. So I've got some videos. Let's check them out. You notice you could hear a lot of wind, you could hear a lot of bugs, and a lot of motorcycles. Let's have a look at another one. A little bit closer this time. Could hear some bugs, an aeroplane. Let's go a little bit closer again. You can hear the car, you can hear my camera trying to focus. Let's check this one out. Now it's hard to see because I didn't really get that much shot of the ground, but what I want to explain to you is that if there were any dead birds there, I would have noticed it immediately. But the fact is there's no dead birds there. And you could hear my footsteps and stuff crunching around on the ground then. And this is the point that I wanted to make when I recorded this in 2018. I'm standing directly under this wind tower in Freiburg, Germany. And I'm taking this video so that you can hear how loud my voice is and the bugs and stuff in the background, and see if you can hear the tower. There's a motorbike in the distance. Yeah, just so you can see, these things are pretty much silent. So I took that video because I've heard a lot of people making these arguments about wind farms before. And this was before Donald even made this video. But yeah, so basically if it lowers the cost of property in areas that are around the wind farms, that's great. Because I love the idea of cheaper property, and I want to buy property in the country somewhere one day. Maybe I could go out there and make a recording studio because it's a nice quiet place to record music, considering they don't make all this noise that people think that they make. But yeah, so if it makes land cheaper because people who haven't done any research or haven't gone and actually visited a wind farm think that they're loud and that they kill all the birds, so they don't want to buy property there, and I'll happily buy the property. But I must be missing something because Donald Trump has studied this more than anybody, so let's see what else he has to say.
California, they were killing the bald eagle. If you shoot a bald eagle, they want to put you in jail for 10 years. A windmill will kill many bald eagles. It's
will kill many boiled eagles. Carry on.
True. And you know what? After a certain number, they make you turn the windmill off. That's true, by the way. They make you turn it off after you. And yet, if you killed one, they put you in jail. That's okay. But why is it okay for these windmills to destroy the bird population? And that's what they're doing. I'll tell you another thing about windmills.
Sorry, this is just the problem with Donald Trump. Like, the thing is that he speaks about things that he doesn't actually know that much about. And yeah, he's got the confidence to say it in a way that it sounds like he is well informed, because he's obviously the president of America. So you would think that he was well informed by all the people that work for him. And, you know, he creates these huge applauses and stuff from all his followers, but they're just blindly following something that has no substance to it. Yeah, that's the scary thing, that somebody can, because of his position, even though he doesn't have to know anything about a topic, he'll say things, and just regardless of whether it's true or not, people will believe him.
And sometimes they're made by different companies. You know, I'm like a perfectionist. I really built good stuff. And so you'll see, like,
It never built anything.
a few windmills made by one company, General Electric. And then you'll see a few made by Siemens. And you'll see a few made by some other guy that doesn't have 10 cents. It looks like a... So you see all these windmills. They're all different shades of color. They're like sort of white, but one's like an orange white. It's my favorite color, orange.
And I'm glad that he went into that topic at the end, the color of the wind turbines, because that's extremely relevant. And his favorite color being orange, that is well deserving of an applause. Like, what is this? Who are these insane people in the crowd cheering because his favorite color is orange? Why? Because his skin's orange?
See these magnificent fields. No, we're doing it right. We're doing it right. And you know, our numbers environmentally right now are better than they've ever been before, just so you know. Because I'm an environmentalist, I am.
And that's another really great point. Then he is an environmentalist, and you know, a lot of people are cheering about that because he knows all this stuff. He's an expert. And their numbers, you know, in 2019 are better than they've ever been. And let's just double check that. Okay. Better than 2005? Sure. Better than anything before 1994? Not really. So if the world has only existed for 27 years, sure, better than they've ever been. It's undeniable.
I want the cleanest water on the planet. I want the cleanest air anywhere.
The point of this section is it reminded me I wanted to share that video standing underneath the wind farms. And I'd like to go and do that again and check out some other wind farms, because I'm pretty confident that, you know, there's no problem with living nearby them. And I've been to the wind farms in Australia before. There's some on the way through like Southeast Gippsland on your way to Wilson's Prom and stuff, and you can stand directly underneath them. And they're huge, and they don't make any sound. Like when you're standing there, all you can hear is the wind. So if they are reducing the price of real estate, then fantastic. I'm going to buy some real estate near some wind farms because I love it. And Trump, you know, I got nothing against him. Well, maybe, I don't know. But whatever, he'll do what he wants to do. There's one concerning thing about Trump, though, and his hands are so tiny. Like, tiny, just really small hands. Uncomfortably small, maybe. Anyway, not really sure what's going on there, but just can't trust a guy with such small hands. Okay, next topic. Next thing for me to be a smartass about. For this one, I'm going to take you back. A little story here. I'm going to take you back to 2014 when I posted something on Facebook. And this was at a time when Apple had just announced the new iOS and all its new features. And one of those features was swiping to text. And this is in 2014. And I saw that and went, oh yeah, it's kind of like my Samsung Galaxy S2 that I've had since 2012. And like the other Galaxies that were before that. But yeah, so I made this post to be like, breaking news, iPhone takes another step closer to Android, slightly reducing Galaxy's 4-year lead. I wonder if the next iOS will have widgets. Now, if you've heard any news this week, you might know what I'm hinting towards. So in 2014, I said this, I wonder if the next iOS will have widgets. Some of my friends said, wow, ha ha ha. People giving me shit just saying like iPhone's better, whatever. This week, Apple announced widgets on the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. I can't believe iPod Touch even still exists. So, I don't know what to say. It feels good. I made a prediction, and it came true. My prediction was that they would bring in widgets in the next iOS release, but I guess they thought they should wait 6 years and then release widgets. So they're finally doing it, And a lot of people have been making fun of them and saying that it's, if you really want to have an Android phone from 2010, you should get onto the newer iOS because it's exactly what you've been waiting for. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And it just goes to show how all the people that have drank the Apple Kool-Aid, they'll spin this to be like, they'll spin this to think that it's an Apple invention, like they always do. And yeah, it's funny. And I don't care if you want to use an iPhone, but I just like to have laughs at these things every time they happen because I just am like gobsmacked by how gullible people are. Because like this is one of the main reasons why people wouldn't refuse to use Android in the beginning is because it was like too complicated or there's too much customization or all these things that are like too technical for people to want to bother with. And widgets was one of those major things. And the reality is like people just weren't ready for that. Like, I don't know, I guess people they needed 6 years to get used to the fucking app icon layout. And anyway, I'm going to make a call now. I don't even know if this is possible or not, but I'm going to make a call now that soon you'll be able to actually place the app icons wherever you want rather than them all, defaulting to bouncing to the top. So I reckon that's Apple's next step towards being Android from 2010. Just on this Apple thing, listening to this podcast, The Tasteless Gentleman, kind of just some funny sort of bro humor. But they were talking about like gaming and streaming and stuff while they're all in isolation. And this guy, Shoney, he had this to say. Let's have a look.
I'm sorry I don't have like a fucking souped up PC with fucking rims on it to play Call of Duty. I do got one now for streaming.
Except for he was panicking the other day.
I've had a MacBook for my whole life. Never had one single fucking problem. I love Apple. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. Soon as I get a fucking PC, that bitch gets a virus and it tells me.
Dude, do I gotta get another one? I need a new computer. And I'm like, dude, calm down. Deep breath.
This is one of those examples of people who like anytime something slightly tricky happens on their computer, they're like, I got a virus. I don't know. I've never had a virus on any of my computers, but it seems like a lot of Mac users get viruses when they get PCs for some reason. And then in the end, he said this.
Calm down. It's all good.
All I'm saying is I've never had a problem with my MacBook ever. If it's a problem, I take it to the Apple store, and I've had 3 or 4 problems in the last 10 years. Take it to the Apple.
Yeah, never had a problem ever. He's had 3 or 4 problems though, and took it to the Apple store. But the point is, yeah, never had a problem with a MacBook, but why did he get a PC? Because you can't play games on a MacBook. you can't stream on a MacBook. So he obviously had to get a PC for a reason, and that reason is MacBooks are pretty much useless unless you just want to browse the internet. Unpopular opinion, Jesus. All right, moving on. Oh yeah, so something that like comes up a lot when you're traveling and you meet people and they find out that you're from Australia. Everyone always like harps on this thing about how Australia has like all these dangerous animals and dangerous insects that will bite you, and you know, you can get poisoned by them and stuff. And everyone's always like, "Oh, Australia, man, it's so dangerous there. I would never go there." I'm on my way. I'm close, but not there yet. But I'm on my way to having more bites from insects in Germany than I've ever had in my whole life in Australia. I was stung by a wasp for the first time in Switzerland in 2018. That's the first time I've ever been stung by a wasp. And that fucking hurts. Like, you know, it's for a bite. But yeah, just like randomly came up and stung me on the leg. So then the other day, I was with some friends hanging out in this park.
Have you guys seen the picture that is before then?
Everything.
This picture? What is that? That's.
Everything looked nice, like there was these little rabbits and stuff hanging out in the park. And then there was like these bugs flying around everywhere, we were constantly swatting them. And then I just feel something burning on my leg. And I was like, ah, and just like wiped it off and looked at my hand, and there was like this huge black bug that I just squashed in my hand. And my friend was sitting there, he's like, dude, what was that? I'm like, I don't know. I just like squashed it and flicked it away straight away. And he's like, that thing was big, but I had no idea what it was. And then I looked at my leg, and it was like these 2 holes in my leg. Like, I don't know, it kind of looks like I would think that's more like a snake bite than an insect bite. But yeah, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was a spider, maybe it was an ant or something. I was freaking out at first thinking like it was a tick. Because anything else, like if it's just something that it's going to sting and be itchy for a while, I don't really care. But initially I was worried that it was a tick because they can give you Lyme disease and stuff. And that's something that people warn you about. Is it's like the only dangerous animal in Germany is like if you get stung by a tick, then yeah, that can fuck you up. Because I guess there's paralysis ticks maybe, but I think like the worry is that you can get Lyme disease from a tick. But yeah, it wasn't a tick, but it was something big like an ant or whatever. And I've got no idea why it bit me. Maybe I was sitting on an ant nest, but yeah, totally unprovoked, just like the wasp in Switzerland, just came up and bit me out of nowhere. And I've still got the bite. I don't know if you can see there, the 2 holes. Like I took a photo of it before. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, little bastard. Bloody got me. So yeah, don't be fooled about Australia. I mean, actually, yeah, you know, I shouldn't say that it's like safe, because I'm sure if you're in like far north Queensland or Cairns or, you know, in Darwin and stuff, there's a lot more dangerous animals. But in Victoria, yeah, there's snakes and spiders and stuff. But like, I don't know anyone who's ever been bitten by a snake. I don't think. And I've been bitten by 2 spiders. One of them was on my face, but it was just really small and didn't really do anything. And another one was on my hip. Like I was sleeping in a car when I was a kid, and I rolled over onto a huntsman. And huntsmen sting you, but they're not poisonous. They are massive, but they're not like dangerous. But yeah, that was just like a little bit itchy, and then it went away. But I would say, oh, and I got stung by an ant once in Australia on the bottom of my foot, and that sucked. It was like a bull ant, and they really hurt. But yeah, I would say probably the most painful bites I've ever had was that wasp in Switzerland and this bite on my leg here in Germany. So that's my anecdotal experience of growing up in Australia for 27 years and then having like 1 year experience in Europe, is that you're as likely, if not more likely, to get bitten by something here, and it's just as dangerous. Maybe not as dangerous. It's probably just the likeliness thing. So I have been here for almost, I think maybe like 10 months or something, and which means my visa's almost done, but I'm applying for a passport because I have a European citizenship. And to do that, I had to register my birth certificate in Malta, which I had to order a birth certificate from Australia, which has to get shipped here, which costs like $50 shipping. It took like 3 or 4 weeks or something, and then shipped that to the Maltese embassy so they could check everything, and then they shipped that to the officials in Malta, and that's supposed to take a week to get from the embassy to Malta. And 3 weeks later, they emailed me saying that the last they tracked it was it got onto an airplane, and then nobody knows where it is. So that birth certificate that I paid $80 for to get here, and that I had to book an appointment with the Australian embassy to get it like apostatized or whatever to say this is official document, and then sent it to them, which all up was like a 2-month process. Then they just shipped it in the mail and see you later. It's just gone. So I've got to do it again. So that's delayed my process of getting a birth certificate, which is pretty fucking annoying. So I guess I'll just have to apply for a visa extension. But I was thinking that's probably a good excuse when I get the new certificate. I might just go to Malta and just take it there and just go and hang out on the beach for a while and just tell my boss, like, yeah, I've got to go to Malta to sort out this passport stuff. And, yeah, I'll just go there and eat some pastizzis and go swimming. But yeah, it's just been an absolute shit show. Like the bureaucracy trying to organize all this stuff. Like, yeah, having to even just getting like, so I've already got a citizenship, but to get a passport, they said I need to register my birth certificate. But they already have a record of my birth certificate because that's how I got my citizenship. But for some reason, I still have to send them an original birth certificate so they can do this for the passport. To get the original birth certificate sent here, like I had to send all these identification documents to Australia to get them to make me a birth certificate. And their offices aren't technically supposed to be operating now because of the coronavirus. So like I have to contact this emergency, like it's called BMD critical, birth, deaths, marriages critical, because it's for critical situations like trying not to get deported during a pandemic, and having to prove everything to them, and then all these email communications with them, and then finally getting that shipped here, and then having to fill in birth certificate registrations and stuff to send that to the Maltese officials, and then they have to ship it to there, and then Malta has to process that for however long. And then I can organize to fill out all the passport documents and make an appointment to do the passport thing. And then they have to send that to Malta as well, and then that has to be processed. So it's just an absolute shit show. And yeah, to make matters worse, they're just losing my important documents in the post. But whatever. Another thing that happened this week that I feel like I should talk about briefly, but I don't want to go too much into it, is that a stand-up comedian who I'm a fan of is basically getting taken down. Like it's a Me Too movement type thing. It seems like from all the accusations popping up on Twitter and stuff that he was involved in, he was talking to some girls who were underage at the time. This was in like 2014, 2015 or something, and, exchanged messages with them and stuff. And basically he's being accused of grooming underage women. And I don't know all the details. I don't know how much of the accusations have like some validity to it, but you don't want to it's tricky with these things because like when everyone jumps on the thing, it's like everyone has to kind of be defensive and think like, all right, well, these are big accusations, so you need to make sure they're correct, but also like you've got to be sensitive of the people making the accusations, because you've got to realize that they've been potentially holding on to this for a long time, feeling like they weren't allowed to talk about it. And yeah, so you've got to empathize with them and think that that he put them in a difficult situation and that they felt like they couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, so I mean, it just feels like the whole situation is just really shitty, because what he did, if he did it, is really shitty, and what's happening to him is really shitty as well. But if he did this stuff, then that's what he had coming. But just coming from a fan perspective, like knowing what he has a good family, and that that I like his comedy, and that I like his banter that he has with other comedians, and the relationships that they have, and I like all the the projects that he's involved in, and there's movies that he was shot in that I was looking forward to seeing and stuff. So from that sense, like if you aren't looking at, like if you're just looking at his side, I'm sad about all of that stuff, because my image of what he was, I didn't want all this stuff to happen to him. And but yeah, this changes my image of him, obviously. So I'm sad for one, because this stuff happened to somebody that I like, but I'm sad too because I'm realizing that somebody that I liked did some things that I don't like. So now they've in a way he's become somebody that I don't like, and that's sad, because it's like losing a friend. He's not my friend, and he doesn't know who I am, but it's like that kind of feeling. So yeah, I feel bad for the girls who were involved, and for everyone that was a victim of the shitty things he was doing. And I gotta say, like, I'm not surprised. It's just I never had the impression that he's like a super nice stand-up person, like a outstanding citizen. I know he's probably an asshole to a lot of people, but I guess it just comes with having that really sort of confident, slightly arrogant personality, I guess. And I can picture that his communications with women would be a lot more aggressive than like the average person. But I never imagined that he would be doing anything so manipulative or in some cases it's like blackmail, which I think that's wrong. And I don't know if anything that he did was necessarily like pedophilia, like talking to younger girls and stuff, but if it is, obviously I don't stand by that at all. And but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. Like a lot of people saying his career's over, which is that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, that I'm sad about, because my image of him before this happened was that I was excited about his career. I don't know. I have a feeling like this is obviously a huge hurdle. I don't think his career is necessarily over, but I think he's got a lot of work to do to make things right. So, the same kind of thing happened to Louis C.K. and he's on his way back on track. He did a lot of shitty things, but I guess you got to, when this happens, you disappear for a while because no one wants to see or hear your shit. So, I think he'll probably be back. But I don't think people will forget this stuff. I still kind of have hopes that maybe it's not all true, and that maybe he can redeem himself by, you know, exposing some truth or something, but I think that's just clinging on to like that idea of what he was before this. But, you know, I don't know all the information, so we'll just see what happens, I guess. But yeah, generally speaking, it's just disappointing news from all aspects, really. And it sucks for the comedy scene in Los Angeles as well, because, you know, it's made everyone super worried about it, and people are deleting podcast episodes with him and deleting videos, and now everyone's just scared that they'll be the next target for this sort of Me Too thing, which I think people were starting to feel like it was going away, but yeah, I don't know. So basically, I hate that this is happening because I like these performers, but also if they were doing all these shitty things, then I hate that they were doing that. So yeah, it's not a good feeling in either aspect of it. But yeah, let's move on. Life in Germany. It's that time of the day. So recently I took a trip to IKEA. I don't know if you noticed, but just about everything I have here is from IKEA. But I've talked about this before, like in Berlin. This is not consistent across Germany. It's just a Berlin thing, I think. But in Berlin, there's kind of this theme of people, like there's no maintenance really for like parks and public areas and stuff. And I've been trying to do things to display to the rest of the world what it's like, or to my Australian friends and stuff. So every now and then when I see stuff like this, I take a video of it. And yeah, I get it. I sound super privileged because, I grew up, I lived a long time in Melbourne, which was considered the world's most livable city for a long time. And I think it's just changed to Vienna recently. So, but yeah, I am spoiled and privileged coming from living in Melbourne because it was a great city to live in. So I'm not doing this to just shit on Berlin, but I'm trying to show how different it is in a place like this. And trying to, just show people what it's like, basically. And it is surprising because other places in Germany aren't like this. That's the thing. It's surprising because it's the capital city. And it's like one of the least sort of maintained places. But anyway, this is a video from my bike ride to IKEA the other day. You probably think like, yeah, that looks, I don't know what the problem is there. But I was just trying to capture like the amount of grass on this nature strip. Like this it's not a garden. It's not like a planted garden or something. It's just grass that's gone out of control. It's like waist high, like not knee high. It's like, in some parts it's probably up to your shoulders. But the interesting thing about this, and the reason why I wanted to share it, is because I had the conversation with a friend from work about it. And I kind of understand the whole reason, like the philosophy behind this now. And it's all got to do with rent prices. So, like if you are from Australia and you look at this, you would think, wow, if my street was like that, all the Karens on the street would be calling the council and they'd be like, you got to send somebody to mow these lawns. It looks terrible. The whole street looks disgusting, all this kind of stuff. And that makes sense. And that's why I think this is weird, because I come from a place where people complain when stuff looks bad. But the opposite is true in Berlin. And the reason why is because these people living around here, they know that if the place looks like this, like, grass and shit everywhere, that their rent should be cheaper because the area is ugly. And if they start maintaining this, like if somebody comes and starts mowing the lawns all the time, then they freak out because it's like, oh, you like looking after the area now, are you? Like you want to make it look good, or what? So you can make our rent more expensive? Is that what this is about? It's like people protest against making things look better or cleaning things up here because it makes the rent more expensive. So I think, people, in some cases, people are purposely doing this. Like, I think a lot of people just do tags and graffiti and shit because they like doing it, and people just want to write their name on something. But I think a lot of people also do it because they're just like, yeah, let's keep the rent down. Like, we don't want this place to look nice. Let's just keep it shitty looking. And, there's a culture in Berlin of squat houses, which stems back to like the fall of the Berlin Wall. But basically, I think there's like 80 or so well-known squat houses in Berlin, which is buildings just where there's heaps of people living in there and they don't own the building, they're just squatting. And it's actually kind of legal in a sense. Like, I think they pay a small amount of rent, like they pay €1 per person per month or something. And, ever since the fall of the wall, the German government has been trying to get people out of these squat houses, and they've been very active in fighting back against people trying to kick them out. I heard one story even of, I think there's an actual like story of this. It's like the battle of some street. But there was like this squat house, and they sent the police in, and even maybe the military. I don't know, I might be making that up. But the people living there cut trenches into the street, like into the ground at both ends of the street, so that they couldn't drive vehicles up and down. And they basically found any weapons they could find to like fight back against police. And something like 100 police officers were injured or maybe killed, I don't know. But yeah. So there's still all these squad houses and stuff. And I think a lot of the time in the squat houses, like if something gets fixed up, like if, say there's a building with heaps of smashed windows or something, if somebody's like, oh, I'm going to buy this building and fix it up and make a flat here or make a shop here or whatever, so they start fixing the windows and stuff, everyone in the squat houses are like, all right, let's go and smash all those windows. Because if that building gets put there, it improves the area, and it makes them more likely to want to get rid of this squat house. So they sort of actively are keeping the area shitty by like breaking things and vandalizing stuff. I think, anyway, this is from what my friend at work told me. But yeah, I kind of understand it now. Like, it doesn't make sense coming from a place like Melbourne. Like, why do they have such little maintenance? But it's because of the people living here, I guess, that are kind of fighting against any improvements, because everyone wants to pay less rent. And I want to pay less rent too, so that's fine. But also, it's kind of gross, but whatever. But yeah, so the grass is super long, and I was laughing about it because later this day I went to the supermarket and I was riding my bike past a park, and there was a brass band playing in the park, so I went into the park to check it out, and I turned around and I saw this kid kicking a soccer ball, and I had to fight to not laugh at the kid because he was maybe like 10 or something. And he's kicking the ball, like trying to kick it around by himself. And he would kick it as hard as he could, and it would roll for about 2 meters and then just stop, because the grass is literally this tall. Like the ball just couldn't get through the grass. Like, it just seemed like the funniest thing. Like, you imagine a kid, kicking a ball around, the next bloody Messi or whatever, like trying to become a really good soccer player, because everyone in Europe loves soccer. But you got no hope of becoming a soccer player here, because you can't even like practice kicking a football around because your ball just stops in the grass. So yeah, poor kid. But yeah, that's just what it's like here. This is something I complain about all the time, but I've got some photos this time for evidence. The coriander situation. I just don't understand what's going on. So I've got 2 photos here from different occasions. This one's from July 20th. July 20th, coriander shelf. You can see here, coriander, they spell it with a K. Nothing there. But they act like there was something there. Maybe there was, but I don't know. And then I've got July 23rd, a few days later. Coriander sticker is there, but there's thyme there and an empty space where there should be coriander. And I've got a theory about this. I've got a theory. It's a big accusation, and it's a terrible accusation. No, I shouldn't make this, actually. I think either they've just got a bad supply of coriander here. For some reason, they just sell out every day. Or maybe they're purposely not stocking coriander because, I don't know, maybe it's a racist thing. I won't go into it more than that. That's a big thing to say. That's stupid. I shouldn't say that. But it's fucking annoying. Get some coriander. Coronavirus update time. Let's do this. Coronavirus. I'm telling you, this shit is real. This shit is getting real. Great words of Cardi B. So, yeah, here we go. Here's the daily new cases graph that I love. So worldwide, I'm starting to feel like we're back to exponential growth. You know, at the beginning, we started shooting up, then we had exponential growth, and then it stopped, and then it flattened out for a bit. But it looks like from that point, it just started a new exponential growth that's just way more than it was before. So yeah, like this, the first wave, I guess we got to about 100,000, and now we're almost at 200,000. So, and this is not total cases. Keep that in mind. This is daily new cases. So the growth worldwide right now is twice as bad as it was at the beginning of the major lockdowns. And a lot of countries are still not locking down. But people are beginning to realize now that it's the second wave and they've got to do some stuff about it. But I will say that a lot of people are freaking out in Australia and in Germany saying, oh, the second wave's coming now, we're going to go back into lockdown and stuff. And I've even had people messaging me being like, oh, is everything crazy in Germany again? Like we've been hearing the news that you're going into lockdown again. It's not. And you can see here that yeah, the cases did, I wouldn't say spike, they grew a little bit, but like, you know, we're still very low compared to the, you know, late March, early April. We're like still less than a tenth of that. And Australia is the same. Like people are freaking out in Australia. You know, a lot of people think that it's got to do with the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff. I said this last week, like, I think it'd be crazy to think that that doesn't have some correlation, but I don't think like it caused a huge problem. And I think we're seeing that the evidence that it didn't cause a huge problem, but there were cases linked to the protests, definitely. Like you can't deny that. But yeah, it's not creating a huge problem. So in Australia, like, yeah, it's starting to go up again, but it's still way lower than it was in March, late March, early April. But in America, things are getting much worse. So after that first peak in late March, early April, it started to go down, and now it really has spiked. So yeah, that sentiment that everyone has of this second wave, if you're in Germany and Australia, it's not so much true. Although we should still be quarantining, but it's not as bad as people think. But yeah, in America, it's gotten much worse than it's ever been. So they've got a big problem to deal with. Daily new cases, India is at the top now, followed by Russia, Mexico, who have been up there for a while, and USA, number 10. Daily new deaths, Mexico, again, I think the last 3 weeks, Mexico has been the highest for daily new deaths. So Mexico is really struggling, and yeah, Russia's been struggling, and it seems like India is a new contender. So that's enough about coronavirus. Just know we're not out of the storm yet. We're doing a bit better in Germany and Australia, but let's just not get too comfortable. Yeah, that's all of my main topics, I guess. Some housekeeping. I was just thinking about this earlier, like, like some other YouTube channels that I used to watch that were kind of like this. I think I realized that this is, I'm calling this a podcast, and I think it is. And I think when I do more, if I do some episodes with other people, then it makes more sense that it's a podcast. But you could also see it as a vlog, like, because I'm mostly just talking about myself and talking about what's happening in the world. But I think the main difference here is that it's mostly unedited. Like sometimes I make 3 or 4 cuts just to cut out like big empty blank spaces or like, yeah. But yeah, the point is that it's kind of an unedited vlog in a way. And I just thought I would mention that because, yeah, maybe you don't want to think about it as a podcast. But I am intentionally doing it this way, unedited, because I think people just lost interest in that whole kind of genre of, I used to watch people like Wheezy Wader and, I guess people watch, there was a bunch of YouTubers that used to be that kind of genre, where it was like a lot of editing and trying to make it look funny and stuff when it's just a vlog. But I think like people, the reason why podcasts have gotten so popular is because it's so honest and it's unedited. And yeah, so you can look at this as a vlog if you want, but it's different in the sense that I'm just trying to make it real, Recommendations for this week. Just like last week, I'm recommending Temperate Climax by the Tropicals, our album. Shameless plug, I want everyone to listen to it. And now it's on Spotify, so I know a lot of people are using Spotify. So it'll be a little bit more accessible to people, or maybe it's just more convenient to people who, have their Spotify set up on their Sonos speaker or whatever. But yeah, go and check it out on Spotify now. And if that means that you're listening to it for the first time because it's on that platform, then now is your opportunity to give me some, give me your thoughts on it, give me some feedback, comment on the video or send me a message or whatever. Because, yeah, just want to see what people think and which songs people like, if any. And, yeah. And shout outs. I was trying to think of someone to shout out this week, just like something good happening. And I remembered something that I think some people have forgotten or maybe just never knew about it. But these guys on YouTube that I follow, H3H3, they're a popular YouTube channel. They're, they always do like charity streams and stuff like that. But at the moment, they're donating to people on Twitter. I think it's on Twitter. Yeah, but they've been doing this thing where they're donating like $150,000 to people in need because of the coronavirus situation. So yeah, I just thought I would give them a shout out for doing something good. And yeah, that's all I've got for this week. I'll give you a Matrix sign out. What's a good quote? I don't know. I was trying to think of like cool Neo quotes and stuff, but I don't look like Neo. I just look like that chick from the first movie that dies. My dad said I look like one of the twins from the second movie, but they had dreadlocks. I think I just look like that girl who she's like, I think Neo's on the phone and the guy's like about to pull her plug and she knows it's about to happen and she's just like, not like this. Not like this. So, that's my fishing quote. Not like this. Anyway, that's it. See you next week.